Hello, wizards, and welcome back to The Pursuit of Happiness with me, Pigtail Girl, your friend and fellow wizard on this path of life. And today I'm very excited because I have a very special guest to speak to you today by the name of Tom Paladino. And for those of you who don't know Tom, he's done groundbreaking work. He's a total pioneer in the Scalar Light research field. And I am by no means an expert. So before I start butchering the whole topic, I'd like to introduce you to Tom and get him to tell us a little bit about what exactly is Scalar Light technology and how do we use it?
Thank you, Pigtails. Thanks for the invite. We're going to speak about scalar light, which is the light of the sun and the stars. It's an eloquent subject. Everybody is frankly an expert at this subject, whether they realize it or not. So we're going to speak about the initial energy, the initial light of the universe, scalar light, the light of the sun and the stars. I work with that energy. I've been able to harness that with engineered instruments. And the key to my work is this light, this divine light will help us. It will improve the human condition. That's the purpose of my work, to benefit mankind.
Well, that's fantastic. And it's definitely a noble cause. And I'm a healer myself who's very interested in consciousness. And often during sessions, now I use something called body talk. You may or may not have heard of it. But during sessions, we have something we call a satellite, which is a helpful energy that wants to help with the healing. And often when I go to look what the satellite is, there's something that refers to itself as living light. And it often wants to come in to help with the session. Now, this is why when you mentioned the scalar light and how you can use it on a photograph to deliver certain information, I suppose you would say, to a person. Now, could you explain a little bit more about how that works?
Yes. It is living light. I believe this has a divine character. So we're not speaking about electricity. Behind me are scalar light instruments. It is the living light. It's so strong, my instrument can illuminate a light bulb in my bare hand.
Wow, yeah.
This is living light. That's the light of the cosmos. And so to be clear, this is a new science in which we're working with the living light, the light of the sun and the stars. And in so doing, we have new possibilities. We can achieve with this living light what you cannot achieve with electricity. So it's a new branch of physics.
Mm-hmm. And so what are the many uses that we might gain from this fantastic scalar light?
So the first use is this. I don't work with people. I no longer want to consider this to be an electromagnetic event. It's not. Let's just look at this from the realm of, say, non-physical intelligence. Okay? When I work with people, I work with them by way of a photograph. Okay? Pigtails?
Yeah.
Anybody in the world can send me a photograph. What's a photograph? It has living light to it. It has scalar light to it. My photograph is my light source or my light code. It's my energetic copy. So to be clear, I don't work with people in flesh and blood. I work with a photograph, which carries their essence or their living light code. And I place the photograph inside the instrument. So the instrument makes the connection between the light source, the living light, and this, if you will, what we consider this animating force of the instrument. I only work with photographs. I have great success working with photographs because I keep it at the realm of intelligence. It's not a chemical process.
Mm-hmm. And when you're doing the scalar sessions for people, do you have one machine per photo, or are you able to do many photos on one machine? How does that look?
Yeah, you're right. I can miniaturize the photograph. Today, early in the lab, I was working with 500,000 photographs.
Right, yes. So I'm wondering in my brain how that looks.
Yes,
is it a stack this high? And
yeah. I can actually stack those photographs as such. And it's not difficult if you miniaturize it. And yes, this instrument can easily work with 1 million, 2 million photographs at a time. So obviously you cannot stack 2 million people inside this instrument. Well, we're beyond space and time. Working with photographs, we just work with the energy field. You could stack 1 billion photographs if you wanted to. You could actually miniaturize them that small. So what do I propose to your audience? This is a new way of looking at physics, and hence it's a new way of looking at health. It's not biological health. It's informational health. And the photograph is corrected. I don't correct people. If I find a disease signature on the photograph, living light will correct the photograph.
And does the light need to be programmed in any specific way, or do you just use the light the same way for any condition?
The light is omnipresent, and the light is omniscient. Now, I have perfected a technique on my part in which I can take, say, a photograph of a bacterium. And I can instruct the instrument to look at that bacterium streptococcus, find it in my force field, and eradicate it. So I can, if you will, instruct the instrument with photographs of light. That's what a photograph is. Obviously, you're capturing light. And I'm capturing the energy of streptococcus. That photograph of streptococcus will identify the bacterium in me and negate it or bring it to a state of chaos.
Wow.
This is what I do. Yes, this is what I do. It's quite effective. If I had the Epstein-Barr virus, I would simply instruct, it's all instructions, it's not a chemical, instruct Epstein-Barr to locate the signal of Epstein-Barr in me and eradicate it, remove it. So promising, filled with promise, great promise here. This is what I'd like to demonstrate to the world, that there is a benefit working with your bilocated version, the photograph.
Yeah, well, even me doing clients remotely, I can say that if I work with them one-on-one on Zoom, or whether I work with their photo, it has no difference to whether they experience benefits from the session. Absolutely no difference at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, can you explain that by Newtonian physics? No. This is not electricity and magnetism. So what's the point here? The photograph has some type of consciousness, some type of living light, what I call scalar light, attached to it. So what we learned at the university level, electromagnetic theory, a lot of that is valid, but then there's a new science, a new branch of physics, scalar physics, consciousness, that we barely scratch the surface on.
And would you say that there's any connection between ether and scalar light?
Well, depending on how you define it, I say ether is the all-present medium. Yes, ether is essential. You have to have a medium in which we can conduct these instructions. So yes, ether, as Nikola Tesla defined it, is the medium of space. Yes, you have to have ether. Yes.
So how did you first find out about scalar light? I mean, it's not something you just get into. I suppose, well, it could be accidental, just environmental, but can you remember what first made you think, that drew you into the concept?
Yeah, it was Nikola Tesla. I read about Nikola Tesla when I was a youngster, and I was enthralled. I was very, very impressed with the work of Nikola Tesla, a brilliant man, a brilliant theorist. And he was quite successful, obviously, in his career. And I've copied in many ways his instruments. The instrument that I'm working with is a similar type of instrument that Tesla. And notably, these instruments do not have any moving parts. The kinetic energy, the kinetic motion is from the stars. So it was Tesla who gave me the original idea. I'm following in the footsteps of Nikola Tesla.
So I suppose your background is in engineering then?
Yes, it is, and specifically physics. Yes.
And
to be clear, I'm not the initial inventor. A man by the name of Hieronymus, an American inventor, invented these instruments. In many ways, I've copied the work of Galen Hieronymus.
Yeah, and you were lucky enough to have access to some of his papers and machines, were you?
Yes, that's correct. That's the key. I didn't have to start from scratch. Galen Hieronymus is a great, prolific scalar light researcher. I was able to actually purchase his instruments. So with that, this is my, if you will, my introduction. This is my baptism to the scalar energy realm. It fascinated me 30, 40 years ago. It still fascinates me. I promise the world that once the world embraces this technology, it will change the course of history.
Yeah, well, I suppose that you must be fighting a little bit against a very old system that wouldn't be quite happy if you were to step up on center stage right now.
Yeah, that's true. But, I don't pay them any mind. pursue my research. That's no obstacle to me. You're right, though. You're correct.
Yeah, because obviously there's billion-dollar industries around making us rely on chemicals that we take.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this is why I don't work with chemicals. I work with intelligence. Why? Intelligence is the cause. When you're working at the chemical level, you have to accept the effect. You cannot control nature with the effect. You can control nature with the cause, with intelligence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it all starts in the realms of consciousness and frequency and trickles down. Matter is the last part of the pyramid. It's like the bottom level.
Or as I say, the caboose. Why would you want to settle for the caboose? Why don't you go to the locomotive where the train receives its power?
But I find it quite interesting that a lot of people, like even just the work I do, Body Talk, a lot of people don't believe in it. And it's like they don't even know anything about it, but they tell me quite point blank. They're not interested in a session with me, like family. You know, I'm like, oh, do you want me to give you a session? They don't believe in it. But it's like they don't believe in the realms of consciousness, but they believe in the realms of matter only.
Yes. You're right. But they contradict themselves because a thought is consciousness.
Exactly.
And emotion is consciousness. Everybody thinks everybody has emotions. Well, can you explain a thought or emotion by physical reality? No. Thinking and feeling is not physical. It's non-physical intelligence. Thinking and feeling from the heart is scalar light. It's the divine light. So these people contradict themselves. The very fact that they think that consciousness does not exist, they're contradicting themselves because consciousness is responsible for thinking.
Exactly. And they're thinking all day long using it. How can it? It doesn't exist though, but it's right there making you move. It's just like.
And it's non-physical intelligence, but you tell me that your thinking is not of consciousness. Wow, they're wrong.
And I know on your website, which I've had a good look at, as I have been trying out the free trial that you offer on your website. And I was just looking that some of your testimonials look very impressive. Like they have actual medical tests, blood tests done, PCR tests done to show that certain viruses or conditions have been, are now coming up negative in their tests.
Thank you for mentioning that. The key to my work is not what I feel, or my opinion. The key to my work are the testimonies. Now, to be very clear to your audience, this has never been proven or disproven. My work is unique. It's cutting edge. I prove my work by testimonies. You're absolutely right. Because modern day science has not yet embraced this concept. There is no other scalar light instrument. My instrument is unique, hence my results are unique. But I'll speak to what you mentioned. Many people approach me. Let's say people have herpes and they send me their photograph. They email me the photograph. Well, after I work with those people testify that they no longer have the symptoms of herpes. And some people have gone as far as to have a blood work, some type of PCR test conducted. And those tests invariably show no viral load for herpes. Now, that's common with us. And as a matter of fact, anytime I work with anybody who claims that they have herpes, after I work with them, if they have a follow-up test, there's no viral load. There's never a viral load for herpes. So then we have to start asking ourselves, what happened? Why is it that after people send their photograph that they no longer have a viral load for herpes? Well, it's my contention that the herpes virus has been negated. We've changed its structure by intelligence. Okay? I can't prove that because I never work with anybody in person. I only work with their photograph. So there's a lot of proving here. But getting back to your point, here's a PCR test from the woman. This gal had herpes for years. She sent me her photograph. I've never met this woman. After I worked with her, she told me she no longer has any symptoms of herpes.
Well, that's amazing because everyone knows that is an incurable virus and it bothers like a lot of people. It's a very annoying virus for people to carry. And obviously it would apply to other viruses too, I suppose, hepatitis. Have you ever worked with people with like hepatitis or anything like that?
Yes, we work with hepatitis. And according to the people that we work with, they no longer have a viral load for hepatitis. Now, to illustrate, I never meet people. People just email me photographs throughout the day. Today, for instance, I work with 500,000 photographs. I did not meet those 500,000 people. People simply upload photographs to our website. So I'm not trying to be impersonal. I just want to be very clear that this is not a one-on-one consultation. There's no way I could possibly consult with 500,000 people. I don't want to, because the energy is the consultant. The divine light, the divine energy consults with people. It's not me. The living light performs all of the work. So to be clear, I'm a researcher. I'm not a healer. The healing, if there's any healing, it's through the photograph. My divine energy.
Yeah, and that, I guess that would really get down the whole waiting to get to see your doctor list that people suffer with. Because it is, when everything takes time, obviously there's only so many hours in a day. And finding ways where you can, treat many people at the same time. I think that's hugely exciting for the possible benefits for humanity as we go into, hopefully, a better future once we deal with whatever mess we find ourselves in at the moment. Yeah. People are going to need healing, I believe.
Yes, they are. Here's a test, a result that I'm going to speak of for HIV. This is from a clinic, an HIV clinic in Delhi, India.
Yeah, wow.
And this person no longer has any viral load for HIV. So let me explain what I mean. I've been working with a clinic. It's by the name of Om Prakash HIV Clinic in Delhi, India. I've received over 5,000 photographs of people who were HIV positive. I've never been to Delhi, India, by the way. After working with these 5,000 people in Delhi, India, nobody has a viral load. Nobody has a viral load.
That's tremendous.
It is. How does that work? Well, this is my theory. If I take a photograph of the HIV virus and I download that information or identify the HIV virus on the person, then the instrument, the energy, can not only identify HIV, but nullify it, bring it to a state of chaos. This is what I've experienced. Everybody in this photograph at one time had the HIV virus, a detectable viral load. After submitting their photograph to me, nobody has a viral load for HIV. Nobody.
Wow.
Now, that's 5,000 people.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you. Can you explain that by way of Newtonian physics? No. Nobody can explain how a photograph carries a signal of a person.
Well, at the moment, the Newtonian physics isn't doing a very good job with viruses in general. Even just simple fungus, they have trouble getting rid of. Like, have you ever had athlete's foot, gone to the doctor to try and get rid of it? They give you a cream, it just comes back. They give you another cream, it comes back. They can't. The many basic things they still haven't managed to really deal with.
You're right, Pigtails. And why? Because you're working at a chemical level. That's the effect. That's the result. If you work at the level of intelligence, the cause mandates the effect. The cause controls the effect. So I'm not interested in working with people in the flesh. I'm not a medical professional. I don't have training to work with people in the flesh. My training, my expertise is to work with force fields, energy fields on photographs, which allows me to command everything. Energy is in charge of the universe. Energy is fundamental. Chemicals are not fundamental. Why work with chemicals that are fundamental? Why not work with intelligence, energy that's fundamental?
Yeah, exactly. And may I ask as well, going back to the patients with the HIV, how long did you treat them for before they had their results?
Usually only a month or two. Within a month or two, they're feeling better. Notably, these people feel better. Notably, they've gained weight, they feel better, they don't have the symptoms of HIV. Now, we've proven this time and time again through testimonies. Again, the testimony is the only proof that we have. Nobody can prove consciousness. See, you cannot measure intelligence, you cannot measure consciousness. There's no basic unit for consciousness. So we have to accept this right now by faith. Now, somebody might ask me, well, where's your data? Well, the best data that I have are testimonies. I cannot show you any mathematical computation, any type of mathematical value. There is no mathematical value for consciousness.
Yeah, it's something very hard to prove how it works, why it works. It's something that you experience.
Exactly. You experience it. Now, can you measure love or emotions? No. Can you measure a thought? No. There's no basic unit for a thought. You cannot measure any basic unit is not possible for light, for scalar light. You cannot measure scalar light. So right now we have to accept this, and we have to look at the before and after. That's it.
Yeah, and you have a lot of that on your website. Loads. Yeah, I really enjoyed looking at it. And can you just tell me as well, what is the difference between scalar light energy and electromagnetic energy? I mean, how do you class the difference?
This is what I've seen and what my predecessor, Hieronymus, is identified. Scalar can convert into electricity, and electricity can convert back into scalar. So it's bidirectional. So it's appeared to us that all energy initiates from the stars. This is star energy. And the star creates scalar energy. And after it leaves the center of a star, scalar energy becomes electricity and magnetism. So you start with scalar energy. Scalar light is the fundament of the universe. Electricity and magnetism are a byproduct or a derivative of scalar energy. So to be clear, the first energy, the primal energy, is scalar energy. The subset is electromagnetic energy. Scalar energy will degrade into electricity.
Right. So it's a bit like a sort of stem cell. It's like at the top of the chain, and then the other things, it can turn itself into anything within this material realm.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. It's so fascinating. It's so promising, people, because we're now in the driving seat. We are driving the car with scalar light. We're not pushing the car with electromagnetic energy. If you want to control anything, you control it in a fundamental capacity. Scalar light controls the universe. We're controlling the universe.
And that would be what the holy grail that everyone's chasing, the source of free energy. Is that right?
This is it. This is it.
Yes,
that's why this instrument can easily animate a light bulb in my hand. It's free energy.
That's what I was going to say. They're not plugged in or anything. They're generating that just sitting there.
Correct. So
wow.
This is the great promise that Nikola Tesla saw this. Nikola Tesla envisioned a world in which we would harness the energy of the sun and the stars. Now imagine if we do that. You don't need a power plant. There are thousands, billions of galaxies. All you have to do is tap into a galaxy, star energy. It's non-physical. It's clean. There's no chemical pollution. You don't need an infrastructure to distribute this. The ether is the infrastructure. I don't have to build satellites. I don't need cell phone towers. I don't need conduit wire. I don't need a step-down transformer. The ether allows me to broadcast this energy anywhere. So it's free energy from the sun and the stars, and the infrastructure is free.
Wow. And can it be used for like stuff like agriculture and other things other than just human welfare?
Yes. I have many friends in Hawaii. They have ohia trees, O-H-I-A. This is a tree native to Hawaii that had a fungal blight. People from Hawaii send me photographs of the ohia trees, and those ohia trees no longer have a blight. So I can work with anything by way of a photograph, because a tree will bilocate to my laboratory.
So anything alive, anything that's got the living signature.
Yep. Absolutely right. For instance, I've been working with people around. We do a lot of pro bono work. This is a photograph of goats in Tanzania. Mm-hmm. And I've been working with the people in Tanzania as well as their goats. And the goats are very healthy and happy. Why? Because I can find their signature code on the photograph. And according to the people in Tanzania, their goats are flourishing.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it just has so many applications. I can see a much better world when we start to embrace all these new technologies. We just need the dinosaurs to clear off first.
Yes, we do. And the key to this is your audience, Pigtails, your audience is forward thinking. Your audience will welcome in this new way of living. It's simple, people. This is easy. I've worked with this on myself for years. I'm 64 years of age and I'm very healthy. I have no health complications. I have no health problems. So what do I propose? This is a new way of health for us, as well as animals, plants, etc. But we have to first introduce this. That's the point of our conversation today. Thank you for your time. To introduce this to the world. It's all groundbreaking. My instrument is unique. My process is unique. It's new. It's cutting edge.
But tell me you have backups, not just one. Tell me you've built more.
I have backups. You're right. I do have backups. Thank you.
But are you thinking at some point to get it more distributed in some way?
Here's the problem, Pigtails. It's so laborious. It's so expensive. For my this laboratory is immense. You only see part of it. I cannot reproduce my laboratory. So what do I want? Some type of central organization where we can come and learn. Some type of university setting. That's what it's going to take. But no university has approached me. And it might be 2 or 3 years before I'm approached to have some type of central location, some type of university. Right now, people just don't understand my work.
Yeah, that can be the problem. A lot of people in science, well, I think it splits two-way science. You have the Newtonian minds that are very much just matter of fact. And then you have the more people who get into the spiritual consciousness realms who start to realize that energy and consciousness comes before the matter. And it's like split right down the middle.
Exactly. So again, there's no harm in this. You have to learn. I had to start off at first grade. And those in academia will likewise have to start off in first grade. You have to learn this. This is not electricity. It's a new science. If you're humble, God will teach you. God will allow us to learn. But you have to be humble.
Yeah, you have to be open to learn.
Yes, you have to be open to learn. Thank you. This has been a lifelong endeavor. It's not easy. It's taken me quite some time to understand these principles and then put these principles into working order through instrumentation. And then, if you will, look at the results. I have to wait for the results that people have. Okay. Well, I'm having great results now. So I think there's merit to this science.
And if you're working with someone directly, one-on-one, I mean, like they're booking some sessions with you and they have some specific conditions, like more than one. Say they've got 5, 6, because I know people, some of them have got like 10 health problems going on and they're popping pills and seeing specialists. Can you work on all of them at once?
Yes. And it's not me, Pigtails.
Yeah, the Scalar Light.
It's the Scalar Light. This is divine energy. Now, to be clear, I'm not a medical professional. I don't have time for medicine. I don't want to overlap my career to that of medicine. Scalar Light, the intelligence will ascertain whether you have diabetes or cancer or some type of fungal growth, and the light will find those disease signatures on the photograph. You have to consider all information is on the photograph. Soul, mind, and body is on the photograph. And if Scalar Light can find the problem with soul, mind, and body and correct that, then that's if you will, that's the domain of Scalar Light. There's no human reasoning with my work. I don't tell the energy how to behave.
And I guess that's why you offer people a free 15-day trial on your website. So because they might never have heard of it and they've got to give you some trust in a very new pioneering realm of science. So you very kindly offer people to try it, don't you? Exactly. That's all that it takes. Yeah.
You just have to try it. It's sort of like when you hear about a good restaurant and somebody says their food is excellent. Well, that's word of mouth, and you're going to try it. A lot of people spread this new technology by word of mouth, and that's the only way I would expect it to propagate. This is not taught by academia. They've never ventured this far as I have. So try it. Our 15-day free session. Anybody in the world can email us a photograph. Send your family photographs if you have their permission, and please send your pets.
Yeah, pets. I was just thinking pets as well.
Yeah. I have 2 dogs. My dogs are very healthy. I do not baby my dogs. They're dogs. I treat them like dogs. They're as healthy as can be. They're germ-free, pathogen-free. They're very healthy. Their coat, their fur is, if you will, a full head of fur. They are healthy dogs. So it works for my dogs. I think it will work for your dogs and cats.
Now, can you explain a little bit about how Scalar Light is a bit like sunlight to plants, the way they need to use photosynthesis to gain energy from the sun, and how for us it may be the same with Scalar Light, and how it can turn into nutrition in the body? Because I find that so interesting.
It is fascinating. Thank you. My predecessor, Hieronymus, the man who initially developed this instrument, grew plants in the dark with scalar energy. He put plants in his basement. He blocked off all visible light. He had windows to his basement. The basement was completely devoid of electromagnetic light. But he was able to grow his plants in the dark with scalar light, which proved that scalar light is really probably the animating force behind photosynthesis. His plants were healthy as could be.
Mm.
Why? Because there's two energy sources, electromagnetic and scalar. Hieronymus proved that you can grow plants in the dark. Now, I've taken him up on that, and I am providing nutrients by way of photographs. I'm going to hold up to the audience riboflavin. That's a photograph of riboflavin. I'm placing it right next to my photograph. I never give anybody the chemical of riboflavin. There's no physicality with my work. The energy of riboflavin downloads into my energy field, my force field. I energetically assume riboflavin through my photograph. This is the new science in which I don't take a multivitamin. I receive all of my vitamins, antioxidants, phytochemicals, etc. through energy. I nutrify my body through energy, scalar energy, not through chemicals.
Wow. Yeah, brilliant. I really believe in this because I studied some years ago, I was in Thailand and I met a sun yogi. And he came from India and he lived on sunlight. He was quite well known. His name was Sun Yogi Ji. And he would look at the sun and he didn't need to eat any food or drink any water. He could get all the energy just by staring at the sun every day for 1 hour. Yes. And he taught us his methods. And he baffled people because he didn't need to eat or drink anymore.
Yes. And what is that? You're taking in the instructions, the intelligence of the sun. Remember, scalar energy is from the sun and the stars. And some people can assume that energy from the sun and it reduces their caloric intake. My caloric intake is reduced. Why? I don't receive nutrients from food. I receive my nutrients energetically. Once my body is nutrified, once my body has that, if you will, balance of nutrients, it shuts off my hunger signal. It's to the point where I'm satiated. I feel that I don't need food.
Well, during my free session with you, because I signed up for the free trial, I mean, people know that I do a lot of healing anyway. I'm always doing body talk and practicing on myself because I have to keep honing my tools. So I'm constantly taking care of myself on many levels. So sometimes it's hard for me to gauge, oh, this was because of that. Yep. But one thing I did notice is that I wasn't feeling as hungry. In fact, even today, I hardly felt hungry at all. I mean, I had some fruit and stuff and it was lunchtime. I was like, do I really need lunch?
Yeah. Many people say that they can miss one meal a day because they're finally receiving energetically the nutrients that they need. Now, when you're delivering the nutrients by light, it's not a chemical process. It does not involve the bloodstream. Instead, scalar light will fill your information field. So you don't have to rely upon the circulatory system. You don't have to rely upon metabolism. You don't have to rely upon breaking down, digesting food or any type of micronutrient. We send it energetically that it floods your quantum field. You're immersed in the energy of riboflavin. That's a big difference than ingesting something in an oral sense.
Yeah, and do you think, I suppose all matter at one point started off as this light, is what you're saying?
Yes, correct.
Behind all of creation, so it really can turn into anything.
You're right. Thank you. Now, if you look at the universe, everything begins with light. Light energy is fundamental. It's a first principle. There's nothing else that's fundamental. Chemicals are not fundamental. People are not fundamental. Planets are not fundamental. All information starts as light, energy. That's the fundament of the universe. So why not keep it at a fundamental approach in which you can control nature? That's what I do. But
the scalar light, I hope I'm saying it correctly. when you're using the machine, though, you don't perceive it as light. It's out of the spectrum of our perceivable light.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's correct. It's invisible. I've never seen the energy. I can feel it. When the instrument is on, I actually feel the energy on my back right now. I can feel it, but I've never been able to see it. It's invisible. That's correct.
Wow. So again, I suppose the people that discovered it would only have been able to discover it using their consciousness.
Yes, thank you, because you can't measure it. So a lot of these scientists who discovered this were led by God, or somehow they received this download of instructions. Nikola Tesla frequently said he had flashes of light. If you read him, he'll frequently say at night he would lay awake at night. He could not sleep. He would have flashes of light, and he would see an invention, or he would see a scientific principle. Well, that's the best way to learn. It's infused knowledge by having a flash of light,
Well, they do. They even have the light bulb moment, don't they? Like when we're having a bright idea. And we even call it a bright idea, don't we?
Yes.
It's all there in the language.
It is. Or we say, let's illuminate or enlighten ourselves. You better believe it. We're enlightened. We're enlightened by scalar light. It's all there in the language. You're absolutely right. Correct.
And it can turn into any nutrient. It can turn into anything we need. It's intelligent, but we can't see it. Do you think if people sit at home and meditate, they can communicate with it?
Yes. Everybody has scalar light. Thought is scalar light. Feeling are scalar light emanations. So if you want to create a scalar wave, think or feel. The brain, the mind, the heart feelings are animated by scalar light, scalar energy. Why? A thought transcends time and space. You can't measure thought. You cannot measure scalar energy. A thought transcends time and space. Scalar energy transcends time and space. A thought is your animating force. Scalar energy is the animating force of the universe. Sadly, people don't realize we're scalar beings. We've been working with scalar energy by thinking and feeling our entire lives. Now all we have to do is accept it. We are scalar beings.
And did I read in some of your work that you believe it's responsible for time and gravity? Is that correct? Could you tell us a bit more about that idea?
That's correct. Some people have postulated that it's a corkscrew, scalar energy. This is a time-lapse photograph, not by the naked eye, time-lapse photograph of a scalar wave. Look at that. It's a double helix. It's a double helix. When you rotate the helix in one direction, time moves forward. Reverse the direction of scalar energy, reverse the scalar wave, time moves backwards. So the flow of scalar energy is the flow of time. It's that simple. Now, when you're in a perfect scalar energy force field, you're not subject to the flow. You're not subject to scalar energy. You are scalar energy. When you become flooded with scalar energy and you are scalar energy, time stands still.
Wow. And the image looks a bit like some kind of angelic, immortal, ascending being there too, doesn't it? So going up there.
It's the same ratio and proportion as DNA.
Well, I've even seen golden spirals at times when my vision has been adjusted and I've been in my visionary state and sort of half asleep, half awake. I've often seen what I just called it living light, and I see these gold spirals, but I just saw them moving. I could see it as if someone had cut it like a cake. And like you can see the pattern in the cake. It was almost like I could see a cross section of this energy moving, and I could see how it's just moving through my room all the time. And it was all around me. And when I moved, I even saw like an imprint left behind in the energy for a while. And then it would go back to looking like the spiral. Like if my cat sat there, she'd move, but the shape of her was left in the light in the same color. And then it would fade over time.
Yes, that's correct. And that's what you're seeing. That spiral is a scalar wave. Dr. Sarah Hieronymus, my predecessor, told me that she believed the energy moved like a corkscrew. And I believe she's right, which is a double helix. This is a double helix. And if you will, it moves like a corkscrew. It doesn't move like a baseball from point A to point B. It's not per se a sinusoidal wave that we see with electricity. It's a corkscrew. It has that third dimension to it. So it's very pertinent to realize that corkscrew, scalar energy, creates our DNA and maintains our DNA. The proportion of a scalar wave and ratio is the identical proportion of DNA. So my point is our DNA, human DNA, is created and maintained by a scalar wave. Scalar energy creates our DNA.
Right, and then programs it with the information. Yes, I suppose it's kind of, it's intelligent, it's living, and it's able to program all of the information here. It's the information.
Precisely. So many times I've always asked myself, what gives that chemical formula? What the life DNA, a DNA molecule, what formed that? Why is it a double helix, first of all? That's kind of peculiar. You ever see, it looks like a twisted ladder. Well, what is the twisted ladder? It's a scalar wave. A scalar wave creates and maintains DNA. Now this makes sense. Now we understand that our DNA is the intelligence of scalar energy.
So if someone has something wrong in their DNA, some RNA or DNA damage, particularly at this time, it's quite a pertinent topic because there's been certain things going on in the world that people are concerned about their DNA and their RNA structures. So your technology, I guess, would be like the remedy for that.
I would hope so. Why? Because I'm working at that fundamental level. We have to revisit our thoughts. If scalar energy is fundamental, it is. And if this is the double helix that describes scalar energy, and if scalar energy can create and maintain DNA, then why don't we use scalar energy as a tool for damaged DNA?
Yeah, and a lot of technologies today are sort of dangerous for us to use. They're bad for our health. I suppose it's got something to do with the battery. Phones have radiation. It's causing brain tumors and stuff like that. But if we had maybe technology using the scalar energy, if that was possible, I would imagine that sort of technology might be not bad for our health, or perhaps even beneficial when we would use it.
You're right. You're right. So I've always thought that electricity was harmful. Why? It has incorporated in it entropy. That is, it has a signal that will cause death eventually to the system. All electricity and magnetism eventually decays. It is reduced to a state of chaos, as opposed to scalar energy that is order. It's not chaos. As opposed to scalar energy that is life, that cannot produce an adverse reaction. So the future of the world will do away with the electromagnetic spectrum, and all of our appliances will work with scalar energy instead.
I'm definitely going to look forward to that day coming, because I have actually, unfortunately, lost quite a few young friends to their mobile phones in their 30s, getting gross and then not making it. So I've seen in my lifetime a sudden increase in that happening. So I have many times in my meditations envisioned this new world where technologies, I've even thought about healthy technologies that when you would use them would benefit your health. That was one specific thing I've envisioned in the future. And obviously healing centers that would just offer a conscious-based or light-based, a frequency-based medicines where many people could be relieved quickly, efficiently, and hopefully not using up too many resources.
Yes, thank you so much. Not using up too many resources. So if it's free energy from the sun and the stars, we'll never run out of it. It's clean. There's no chemical residue. There's no chemical die-off. There's no biological effect. It's pure light energy from the sun and the stars. It's divine living light. This is the future, people. This will solve our energy crisis. This type of energy will restore human health, animal health. This type of energy will allow us to create anti-gravity instruments so that we can overcome gravity. And in so doing, scalar energy will be the perfect mode for transportation.
So you think it can be used also to move through space?
Yes, I do. I believe scalar energy causes gravity. And if you can negate gravity with scalar energy, then you can move about quickly. without any gravitational forces. I believe this is the future for anti-gravity.
Well, it's fascinating because I don't know if you know this about me, Tom, but I am a UFO experiencer. I have seen one very close up. I mean, like it was just above a house in front of me where I grew up. It came right down. And what fascinated me about this, and at the time, I really didn't have any box or paradigm to put what I was seeing into, to be honest with you. But it was just that it moved, the way it moved, it defied the laws of gravity and physics, and it just moved without any sound. Like, that's what also struck me. There was no sound or no air, like whooshing and my hair flying as it came down. It was just silent and just came down as if it was inside a bubble that stopped it having any effect on the norm, what you'd expect if you saw a helicopter or an aeroplane, coming down above you.
That was a local scalar energy force field. Just as a photograph in my instrument is enjoying a local scalar energy force field. And it wasn't electromagnetic, was it? You did not see electromagnetic phenomenon. Why? Because that was a scalar energy bubble or a plasma force field. That's why.
Yeah, I couldn't see anything. I couldn't really feel anything or even hear anything. All I saw was the craft, and it was deadly silent. And had I not seen it, I would never have known. No one would have known it had ever been there.
Yeah. It's silent in operation. And this is the way an anti-gravity craft will operate. There's no combustion engine. This instrument is not combustion. It's silent. If you look at my instrument, there's no moving parts. And so this is the predecessor, if you will. This is the beginning stages of anti-gravity. You don't need moving parts. All you need to do is manipulate gravity.
Well, because I know many people dream of driving anti-gravity cars, like flying cars. It's because we've all grown up watching 90s sci-fi. We would like that car. We could just hover over the traffic.
Yeah, and that day is coming likewise. So now this gives expression to so many things. Now we realize these unidentified flying objects, if they are indeed real, they're using anti-gravity to overcome the laws of Newtonian physics, so to speak, to overcome gravity. Okay? And within that, if you will, local scalar energy environment, they're not subject to gravity. So those UFOs can move quickly. They can perform a right-angled turn in the sky without any G-forces. Why? There's no gravity in an anti-gravity domain.
Mm-hmm. So how do you see the future of your scalar technology looking? Where's it heading towards, Tom?
We're going to eventually work with 1 billion photographs a year. This is unstoppable. You can't stop a photograph. A photograph transcends time and space. It's just a matter of time before the information gets out there and the people realize what we can do. So I thank you for your audience. I thank you for your time. We're going to change the world.
Yes, we are.
This will catch on by grassroots, and I prefer to be grassroots. I don't want to be tied down to any government agency or big business. And if we keep it with the people, then God will bless us.
So if people want to sign up for your free trial, could you give a nod out to your website and how they would do that?
It's scalarlight.com, SCALAR, scalarlight.com. You'll visit the website. You can read our articles. And please try the program. Email us your photograph. You can send your pets. You can send your family members. Get their permission. And we work with you for 15 days. You're going to feel something. The greater majority of people say that they feel better after 15 days of these sessions. Try the program.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you so much, Tom, for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
I enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Okay. Goodbye to all the viewers at home, and I will see you on the next episode of The Pursuit of Happiness. One love.